Hello YouTube, Alan here with another video, and today we're taking a look at the recently released Super Nintendo Entertainment System Nintendo Classic Mini. Now, in my case this is a European system, and before we get into my opinions of the games which I'm going to try out, I just wanted to actually have a look at what's in the box. So first and foremost is the system itself, very small, very compact, but also very robust. Has a working power supply, working reset. The rest is for decoration. Same goes for the control ports. While this is for decoration, the flap does fall down to reveal the actual inputs, which of course is the Wii proprietary connector. The back then you have your HDMI and USB mini, and that is essentially it. It's just a very neat little system. You also get two controllers in the box. These, again, without having tried them, in action, it's hard to say, but the overall feel in first impressions is very strong. It seems very accurate, fairly robust, quite light. The material seems a little coarser than perhaps the original, but that could just be my memory. I would say the biggest problem is again going to be the cable is very short. As you can see, it's not long enough, even if it is longer than the NES Mini. Then we have the power supply. Now, I say power supply, but in Europe, we don't get a plug. We just get the USB mini cable. So if you do not have a plug, you're going to have to supply one yourself, or hope that your TV will power the device off USB directly. Again, I feel that's a bit of a silly cost-cutting measure, but however. Then we have the HDMI cable. Thankfully, just a standard HDMI cable. Nintendo didn't scrimp there. The user manual or operation manual, nicely designed to look like the one that originally came with the Super Nintendo. And you also get some My Nintendo Club points, 300 platinum points for what that's worth, which is frankly not worth the paper that it's printed on. And then finally, of course, there's the box itself, which is very nicely set up. And on the back, of course, you get a look at the 20+1, Star Fox 2 being the +1 set of games. And just briefly, without even diving into them yet, I can tell these is going to be an absolutely amazing selection of games. So we're going to jump from here into a few games with my final opinions.
So I've tried out most of the games on the system by now, and on the whole, I must say I'm very impressed. The level of emulation is top notch. Unless you're an absolute die-hard aficionado for the real thing, I don't think you're going to notice. There may be the odd discrepancy in terms of visual here and there, but really it's absolutely minute. And certainly for the audience, this is not going to be a problem. I did think that there might be a little bit of inconsistency in the audio department, but I think we're talking about 96% kind of accurate. It's still quite minor and nothing that I would consider a deal breaker. I do like the additional visual display options that are being added to the system, especially the borders, which are a good way of filling in the additional space, since the system restricts you to kind of a more 4:3 style picture, which makes sense, and that is the format that these games would have been presented in. I also like this option of suspend points and the rewind feature. It definitely kind of enables more casual kind of experience for these games. And some games that are quite difficult, such as Ghouls and Ghosts or Super Castlevania 4 or Contra 3, it gives players like me a greater chance to actually see further into the game than I would on the system itself. So this is definitely a welcome addition. My only real kind of gripes with the system really do boil back down to the hardware itself. The controller length is just absolutely silly. I personally have set my system up with a very long HDMI and USB cable, and have the controllers right next to me. So the only advantage of that is I can press the reset button, and the reset button is required to get back to the kind of home menu so that you can change games or use the suspend point features. It would be nice if they added some more kind of hotkey presses to kind of simulate kind of a soft reset of the system. And I think there is a way to kind of reset the current game, but not to jump back into the main system menu. A bit of an oversight, and I know that is something that you can bypass by using a Wii Classic controller, and the home button there will allow you to kind of go back and act like a reset. So there is an option for those that have that controller at hand. And that's a good controller for the system too. But anyway, on the whole, I would wholeheartedly recommend the classic SNES Mini. For the price of admission, you're getting a great selection of games, and for the minor issues with emulation, and they really, really are not really worth mentioning almost. Even for Super FX games, there's nothing, that I could really point out as being a major problem, including the unreleased Star Fox 2. That seemed to play quite nicely. And coupled with, the packaging is very, very nicely set system, it really is just a good buy. It's a great present for someone that's into retro gaming or into classic gaming in general, and it's kind of easy to pick up and play thanks to the added features. So definitely a thumbs up from me.